Good evening. My name is Daniel Voss, and you are listening to Blackout Radio. Before anything else, before I tell you what we know, before I read you the numbers, before I try to make any sense of what has been reported in the last 40 minutes, I need to ask you to sit down if you are not already sitting. I need you to be somewhere calm, somewhere you feel safe, because what I am about to share with you is going to sound impossible. It is going to sound like the beginning of a film you have seen before, one where you are certain of a happy ending. I am not certain of any ending tonight. I am not certain of very much at all. What I am certain of is this. Something has been detected in the space between Earth and the Moon, something that was not there yesterday, something that our instruments cannot fully account for, something that the world's leading astrophysicists were briefed on approximately 90 minutes ago, and something that has, since that briefing, produced near total silence from the scientific community. I am Daniel Voss. Maya Ross is beside me. We will be with you for as long as this signal holds. Stay close. Stay tuned. This is Blackout Radio.
And I'm Maya Ross. I want to say, and I mean this with every part of myself, that I understand if what Daniel just said has your heart going fast right now. Mine is too. I have been doing this job for 11 years. I have sat in this chair through storms and crashes and collapses and every kind of breaking news you can imagine, and I have never, not once, felt the stillness in this room that I am feeling right now. Our producers are on every line they have. Our correspondents in Geneva, in Washington, in Tokyo, in Johannesburg are all working. But here's the thing about tonight that is unlike every other night. The people who are supposed to tell us what is happening, the astronomers, the astrophysicists, the people at observatories whose entire lives are devoted to watching the sky, they have stopped talking, not slowed down, not become cautious. They have gone quiet in a way that suggests they are either terrified or that they have been told very firmly to say nothing. And that silence, more than any instrument reading, more than any image, is what is making people around the world stop what they are doing and look up.
Let me give you the timeline as we have it right now. And I want to be precise because precision matters enormously when you are dealing with something of this nature. The first anomalous reading was registered at the Farpoint Array Observatory, a deep sky monitoring station located outside the city of Reykjavik, Iceland. Their automated systems flagged a gravitational irregularity at a distance of approximately 240,000 miles from Earth's surface, which places this event, if it is real and stable, at roughly the distance of the Moon, though not in the direction of the Moon. Initial readings suggested a gravitational lensing effect. Gravitational lensing is what happens when a massive object bends light around it. It is a phenomenon we associate with black holes, with neutron stars, with objects of extraordinary density. The Farpoint Array's alert went out to 7 partner observatories around the world at approximately and again, we're still piecing together this timeline, at approximately 40 minutes past the hour, early this morning. 3 of those 7 observatories confirmed the reading within 12 minutes. The other 4 have not responded. We are now, by our estimation, roughly 1 hour into public awareness of this event. The world's governments have not yet made a formal statement.
While Daniel just walked you through that timeline, I want to share something that came into our listener line only a few minutes ago, because I think it matters. We've been receiving messages since we went to emergency broadcast. This one is from a listener in the city of Christchurch, New Zealand. Someone who works at a university there and asked us not to use their name. I'm going to read this carefully.
Listener from Christchurch. I work in a physics department. I can't say more than that. About an hour ago, our department head received a call and left the building immediately. No explanation. Every graduate student with access to telescope time tonight has been told to log off the systems, not by our department, by someone above. I don't know who. I'm scared. Please keep broadcasting.
We received 17 messages in a similar vein in the first hour alone. People at universities, at observatories, at government research facilities, not astronomers themselves, but people adjacent to them. Assistants, graduate students, IT administrators who manage the servers. All of them describing the same thing. A sudden, coordinated, top-down instruction to stop, to go dark. I am not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a journalist. But when the people paid to watch the sky all stop talking at the same moment, the rest of us have a right to ask why.
We are now approximately 2 hours into this broadcast, and I want to update the numbers and the confirmed information as we have it. The gravitational anomaly, and I'll use that term until we have something more definitive, has been independently verified by 3 separate observatories. The Farpoint Array in Reykjavik, Iceland, the Southern Cross Observatory outside Cape Town, South Africa, and the Velasco Deep Sky Institute in the mountains east of Santiago, Chile. 3 different hemispheres, 3 different instruments, same reading. For those of you who have a science background, here is the technical picture as we understand it. The object is emitting no light. That alone is significant. It is, however, bending light that passes near it in a manner consistent with an object of between 3 and 15 solar masses compressed into a singularity. That range, 3 to 15 solar masses, is the estimated mass of what is classically defined as a stellar mass black hole. What is not classically defined, what has no precedent in any astrophysical literature on this planet, is a stellar mass black hole appearing 240,000 miles from Earth, with no observed precursor event, no detected collapse, no recorded gamma-ray burst. It was not here. Now it is. That's the sum of it.
2 hours in, and I want to tell you what the streets look like. We have correspondents who are not scientists, just people out there with phones and eyes, and they are filing what they can. In Paris, France, the Place de la République, which is one of the great gathering squares of that city, has filled with people standing in the dark looking up. Not panicking, standing. The way people stood the night of a lunar eclipse, or on New Year's Eve, but quieter, much quieter. In Lagos, Nigeria, our correspondent Adaeza, who is one of the bravest people I know, is reporting that the markets that would normally be winding down this evening have simply stopped. Not closed. Stopped. Vendors and shoppers alike standing in the roads, phones out, looking at the sky, even though you cannot see a black hole with the naked eye. You cannot see it at all, but people are looking anyway. Because looking up is the only thing that feels right when something impossible is happening above you.
We have received what appears to be a partial statement, and I want to emphasize partial because this is unverified, from a source identifying themselves as a senior researcher at the Global Space Monitoring Consortium, based in Geneva, Switzerland. We cannot confirm this person's identity. We are reading it because the technical specificity of its contents suggests someone with genuine expertise. Our legal team is aware that we are broadcasting this. Here is what it says, in full.
The object is real. It is gravitationally stable at present. What this means is it is not currently pulling material from Earth or from the Moon in any measurable way. What this does not mean is that it is safe. A black hole of this mass at this distance creates tidal forces that our models say will begin to interact with Earth's magnetosphere within approximately 18 to 22 hours of its confirmed appearance. We do not know why it appeared. There is no model for this. The silence you are hearing from official channels is not disinformation. It is the silence of people who have looked at the numbers and do not know what to say. I am not supposed to be contacting anyone. Please tell people to stay calm. Tell them to be with their families.
That statement came in approximately 40 minutes ago. Since then, we have had no further contact from that source. We are continuing to attempt to verify it. What I can tell you is that the 18 to 22 hour window cited in that statement is now a number I am going to be tracking very carefully throughout this broadcast.
We're about 2.5 hours in, and the first governments are beginning to speak. Not saying much, but speaking. The Prime Minister's office in the United Kingdom issued 3 sentences on their official platform. I'll read it exactly as it was written.
The government is aware of reports concerning an astronomical anomaly and is in contact with scientific advisors and international partners. There is no immediate threat to public safety. Citizens are asked to remain calm and await further official guidance.
No immediate threat to public safety. I have been reading government statements for over a decade. I know that phrase. That phrase means we are not sure, we are not ready to tell you what we know, and we need more time. It does not mean what it literally says. It means the opposite of comfortable. The Japanese government issued a similar statement 30 minutes ago. So did the government of Brazil. 3 countries, 3 statements, same wording. That kind of coordination does not happen unless people have been on calls together. Unless something was decided. What was decided and by whom, we don't know yet.
We are now 3 hours into this broadcast. I want to walk through what we are hearing about the physical effects, because while there is no confirmed mass casualty event yet, there are things happening on the ground that we believe are connected. Power fluctuations have been reported in northern Canada, specifically in the provinces of Manitoba and Saskatchewan. These are not blackouts yet, but utilities providers in those regions say their instruments are reading interference in the magnetic field layers that their lines run through. In northern Norway, the town of Tromsø has reported disruptions to GPS systems that are significant enough to have grounded small aircraft at the local airport. 2 cargo planes were diverted. No injuries. In Australia, radio communication in the outback regions east of Alice Springs has gone intermittent. Again, no casualties, no confirmed structural failures. But these are the early tremors. When a black hole of sufficient mass sits close enough to a planet, it begins to interact with that planet's electromagnetic environment in ways we understand theoretically but have never observed in practice. We are, right now, observing them in practice for the first time in human history.
3 hours in, and the listener messages are coming in so fast that we can barely keep up. I want to read a few of them because they're not just data points. They're people. This one is from a man named Tobias, writing from a small town called Greifswald on the northern coast of Germany.
My wife and I put our children to bed early tonight. We didn't tell them why. We sat in the kitchen together and held hands for a while. I don't know what's coming, but I wanted you to know that there's a house in Germany where 2 people are very much in love tonight and very afraid, and they're listening to your station because it's the only voice they trust right now. Don't stop talking, please.
Tobias, we are not stopping. We promise you. And to everyone in that position tonight, sitting at kitchen tables, holding hands in the dark, listening, we see you. This next one is from a woman who signed her name as Priya, writing from Mumbai, India.
The power went out here 20 minutes ago. I'm on battery. The street outside my window has more people in it than I've ever seen at this hour. Everyone is just standing there, looking up. My neighbor, an old man who has lived through things I can't imagine, knocked on my door and asked if he could sit with me. He is sitting here now. He brought tea. I wanted you to know that someone is making tea.
Someone is making tea in Mumbai. That is the best sentence I have heard tonight, and I mean that.
As we come up on 4 hours into this event, I need to give you the first confirmed casualty report. And I want to do this carefully because accuracy matters more than speed. In the city of Istanbul, Turkey, a traffic incident occurred on the Bosphorus Bridge approximately 90 minutes ago. According to Turkish emergency services, a combination of GPS failure and what witnesses describe as a sudden and severe disorientation. Some witnesses reported vertigo, others reported a visible shimmer in their field of vision, caused a 17-vehicle collision. 3 people have died. 41 are injured, 11 of those listed as critical. Turkish authorities have confirmed this. They have not officially attributed it to the anomaly, but emergency services on the scene told our correspondent, who is there right now, that the GPS failure was unlike anything they had seen before. The bridge's electronic traffic management system simply stopped reading positions correctly for approximately 4 minutes. In those 4 minutes, 17 vehicles collided. 3 people died. I want their deaths to be noted with precision and solemnity. 3 human beings who were crossing a bridge on an ordinary night and are gone now because something happened in the sky above them.
4 hours in, and I want to step back from the numbers for a moment and talk about something that Daniel and I were discussing during the break, about what silence means. Because the silence from the scientific community is still holding. It has been 4 hours since those 3 observatories confirmed the anomaly, and in that 4 hours, not one astronomer, not one physicist, not one academic institution has issued a public statement. Do you understand how strange that is? Normally, when something happens in space, a meteor, a new comet, a gamma ray burst from a distant galaxy, scientists are falling over each other to appear on broadcasts, to post to their platforms, to explain and theorize and speculate. It is, in the most human sense, their moment. They live for these moments. The fact that none of them, not one, has done so tonight tells me that something is being held back at a level and with a force that is extremely unusual. Either they have all been explicitly silenced by their governments, or what they know is so severe that even scientists, people whose entire professional identity is built on communication and publication, have decided that telling the world is not the right call. Both of those possibilities should concern you. Both of them concern me.
At approximately 5 hours into this event, we are beginning to receive reports of the first significant infrastructure failures directly linked to what authorities are now, cautiously, beginning to call the gravitational event. I want to walk through these geographically and methodically. In the city of Toronto, Canada, 3 of the city's 7 power substations have gone offline. The cause, according to a source inside the city's power authority, is what they are calling induction anomalies, meaning the magnetic fields that their equipment runs through are fluctuating in ways the equipment was not built to handle. Roughly 1.4 million people in the Greater Toronto metropolitan area are currently without power. In Osaka, Japan, the high-speed rail network has been suspended because the precision GPS systems that the trains depend on for positioning are returning errors. No train can run safely without those systems. 237 trains are currently stopped on their tracks. Passengers are being asked to shelter in place. In the city of Nairobi, Kenya, the communication tower network, which handles mobile phone traffic for the entire eastern third of the country, has begun to fail intermittently. Not completely, but the interruptions are growing more frequent and lasting longer each time. Cell service across a region of roughly 18 million people is now unreliable. These are not small things. These are the bones of modern civilization beginning to creak under a pressure they were never designed to bear.
5.5 hours in. I want to read something that was just handed to me. An official statement from the International Astronomical Coordination Body, based in Zurich, Switzerland. This is the first official statement from any scientific organization anywhere in the world since this began. I'm going to read the whole thing.
The International Astronomical Coordination Body confirms the presence of a gravitational singularity at a distance of approximately 238,000 miles from Earth's surface. The object is currently classified as a Class S gravitational anomaly of unknown origin. Models are being run continuously to determine the trajectory and stability of the object. At this time, the IACB can confirm that the object does not appear to be on an inbound trajectory toward Earth. What the IACB cannot confirm is the long-term behavior of the object's gravitational field as it interacts with Earth's own magnetic and gravitational environment. Member nations have been briefed. The IACB asks all civilian populations to follow the guidance of their respective national emergency authorities. Further statements will be issued as information becomes available.
Does not appear to be on an inbound trajectory. That is the sentence I keep returning to. Not is not moving toward Earth. Not is stationary, appears not to be. That is a statement built entirely out of present tense uncertainty. What it will do in an hour, in 3 hours, in 12, nobody is saying, because apparently nobody knows.
6 hours into this broadcast. The casualty figures are rising, and I want to be methodical about this, because these are human lives, and they deserve precision. The Istanbul Bridge incident, 3 dead, 41 injured. That remains the first confirmed fatality event. Since then, we have the following. In Sao Paulo, Brazil, a hospital on the eastern side of the city, the Clínica Santa Margarida, lost backup power when its generator system failed, reportedly due to the same magnetic interference affecting other electrical infrastructure. 3 patients on life support died when the system failed to restart. The hospital's administrator is quoted as saying, and I will read this directly,
"We had 12 minutes of warning. Our teams did everything possible. Everything. But when the magnetic interference hit the generator's control board, the system locked up in a way we have never seen. We could not override it. We could not restart it manually in time. I don't know what to say. I don't know how to explain this to these families."
3 more deaths, making the global count 6 confirmed fatalities at the 6-hour mark. In Karachi, Pakistan, a panic event in the Sadar commercial district, triggered when cell service failed simultaneously across a crowded evening market, resulted in a crowd crush. Pakistani emergency services have confirmed 2 fatalities and approximately 60 injuries, many serious. Our count now stands at 8 confirmed dead globally. I say count not to be clinical, but because precision is the only thing I can offer these families right now. Their children, their parents, their partners, they deserve to be counted accurately.
It is now approximately 7 hours into this event, and I want to tell you about something that is happening that the news is not yet covering the way it should be. Because it is not a disaster. It is the opposite of a disaster. And the opposite of a disaster is also news. In the city of Bogota, Colombia, a network of neighborhood volunteers, thousands of them, ordinary people, has spontaneously organized to go door to door through the areas that have lost power, checking on elderly residents, distributing water, bringing children to central community centers that still have generator power. No government asked them to do this. No emergency authority coordinated it. They just started. In Accra, Ghana, amateur radio operators, people who maintain these old shortwave sets as a hobby, never expecting them to be essential, have set up a relay network that is now carrying emergency communications across the country as cell towers fail. In Seoul, South Korea, restaurants and cafes with gas stoves are opening their doors, lighting every burner, and inviting strangers in off the street. Because warmth exists and it can be shared, and when the sky is frightening, that is what some human beings instinctively do. They open their doors.
8 hours in, the power situation globally has deteriorated significantly. I want to give you a clear picture because I think it is important that we do not let these numbers blur into abstraction. An estimated 340 million people are currently without electricity worldwide. The regions most severely affected are northern Canada, where grid magnetic interference has caused cascading failures across 5 provinces. Northern Scandinavia, where the proximity of the anomaly to the magnetic north seems to be amplifying its effects. Sub-Saharan Africa, where older infrastructure with less magnetic shielding has collapsed fastest, and coastal regions of Japan and South Korea, where precision electronic systems, which are extraordinarily sophisticated but also extraordinarily sensitive, are failing at higher rates than cruder, more robust systems elsewhere. Here is what I think is important for people to understand about this. The anomaly is not moving toward Earth. It is not sucking the planet into itself. What it is doing is sitting at a distance where its gravitational field intersects with Earth's own electromagnetic environment like, and I'm going to try an analogy here, like a large magnet held too close to a hard drive. It doesn't destroy the drive by touch. It destroys the information on it by proximity, by field. And right now, our civilization's information systems, our power grids, our communication networks, our navigation systems, are the hard drive. And the proximity is increasing.
8.5 hours in. We have just received something I wasn't expecting. A message, long, handwritten, photographed, and sent to us. From a man who identifies himself as Father Emmanuel, a Catholic priest in a small village called Nakota Kota, on the shore of Lake Malawi in Malawi. The power went out in his village 3 hours ago. He is writing by candlelight and had a neighbor drive to the nearest town with cell service to send this. I'm going to read the part that moved me most.
Tonight we gathered in the church, all of us, because where else do you go when something you cannot understand appears in the sky? We sang for a while. Then we sat quietly, an old woman in the front row. She is perhaps 90 years old, I have never been sure. She began to laugh. Not a frightened laugh, a laugh of pure recognition. She said, "I always knew the sky had more to it than we thought." And everyone in the church laughed with her. We are frightened here, but we are together, and in my experience, together is the hardest thing to destroy.
Father Emmanuel, we hear you. We hear that woman laughing, and we are grateful.
9 hours in. I need to report on something that is moving fast and that represents a significant escalation in the severity of this event. In the last 90 minutes, multiple national governments have begun issuing emergency evacuation orders for coastal regions, not because of the anomaly itself, but because of a secondary effect we had not anticipated. The anomaly's gravitational influence, at this distance, is beginning to produce measurable tidal distortions in Earth's oceans. Let me be precise about this. Normal tides are produced by the moon's gravity. The moon is roughly the same distance from Earth as this anomaly. An object of comparable or greater mass at that distance would produce tidal forces of similar or greater magnitude. What we are seeing, according to data from ocean monitoring buoys which are still operational, is an additional tidal bulge forming on the side of Earth facing the anomaly, separate from and additive to the normal lunar tide. In practical terms, this means sea levels on the side of Earth facing the anomaly are rising. Current estimates put the additional rise at between 60 centimeters and 1.2 meters above normal high tide, and this figure is increasing. The governments of Bangladesh, Vietnam, the Netherlands, and several Pacific Island nations have issued evacuation orders for low-lying coastal areas. This is not a tsunami. This is a slow, rising, sustained tide that is not going to recede on its schedule. It is going to hold as long as the anomaly holds.
9.5 hours in. The coastal evacuation situation is producing its own human tragedies and its own human heroics, and I want to tell you about both. In the coastal city of Khulna, Bangladesh, one of the most densely populated deltaic cities in the world, an evacuation of approximately 2 million people is underway with roads that were not built for it, in darkness, in an area where the infrastructure was already under pressure. Our correspondent in Dhaka is in contact with relief workers in Khulna, and they are describing scenes that are heartbreaking and breathtaking in the same moment. Families with nothing, loading elderly grandparents onto bicycle rickshaws because there is no other transport available. boat owners on the rivers who woke up tonight as private citizens and are now, without any organization or instruction, ferrying hundreds of people at a time to higher ground. A school teacher named Salma, that's all we know, just Salma, who has apparently organized every child in a 2-block radius into a line and is walking them to the elevated highway herself, singing to them to keep them calm. We don't have her last name. We don't need it. The world should know her first name tonight.
10 hours into this event, the confirmed death toll stands at 63 people worldwide. I want to break that down clearly. 31 of those deaths are attributable to the coastal flooding in Vietnam, specifically in the Mekong Delta region, where rising sea levels combined with an already saturated drainage system created flash flooding conditions in 3 low-lying villages that had not yet been reached by evacuation orders. 11 deaths in Bangladesh from causes related to the evacuation. Traffic accidents, medical events during transit, 1 drowning. 8 deaths in the Netherlands, where the famous seawall systems held in most places, but failed in one section near the mouth of the Rhine, flooding a village called Lobith. The remaining 13 deaths are scattered. Medical failures in hospitals that lost power. 2 more crowd crush events in Karachi and in Manila in the Philippines. And 1 aircraft, a small regional turboprop operating between 2 islands in Indonesia, that went down when its navigation systems failed over the Banda Sea. 6 people were aboard. No survivors have been found.
11 hours in. There's something happening right now that I think deserves your attention and deserves to be said plainly, because I believe in saying hard things plainly. The silence from the scientific community, that silence we noted in the first hour, has partially broken, but what has broken it is not reassurance. What has broken it is fear. In the last 30 minutes, individual scientists, not institutions, not governments, but individual human beings who apparently decided they could no longer stay quiet, have been posting on whatever communication platforms still work. And what they're saying is not comforting. A physicist at a university in Uppsala, Sweden, whose credentials I cannot fully verify but which appear to be genuine, wrote the following, which was shared widely before the post was removed.
The anomaly should not be stable. A black hole of this mass appearing at this location with no precursor event should either be growing rapidly by accreting local matter, or it should be decaying via Hawking radiation so quickly as to be undetectable. The fact that it is neither growing nor decaying, the fact that it is simply sitting there, violates every model we have. Something is keeping it there. We don't know what. Our models don't allow for this. I'm not saying it was made, I'm saying I have no other framework to suggest. I have been awake for 20 hours. I am very scared. I love my family.
I love my family. That's how a physicist ends a statement about the laws of physics breaking down. That tells you everything you need to know about what is in that person's heart right now.
12 hours into this broadcast, we are at the halfway point of that 18 to 22 hour window cited in the anonymous statement we received in our first hour. The window in which the anomaly's gravitational field was predicted to begin significantly interacting with Earth's magnetosphere. And I have to tell you that the numbers suggest that interaction has already begun, ahead of schedule. The magnetic interference we noted early on, the power fluctuations in Canada, the GPS disruptions in Norway, those were the early symptoms. What we are seeing now is systemic. Earth's magnetosphere, the protective magnetic field that shields the planet from solar radiation, that makes compasses work, that birds use for navigation, is showing measurable deformation on the hemisphere facing the anomaly. Data from the network of magnetic monitoring stations globally, as interpreted by a researcher in Buenos Aires, Argentina, who has been broadcasting her findings live on a local shortwave station, suggests the deformation is roughly 7 to 9% of the magnetosphere's normal intensity on that side. This is within the range that begins to affect surface-level phenomena. At 14%, the researcher says, we begin to see aurora-level geomagnetic activity at mid-latitudes. At 20%, surface electronics, not just power grids, but individual consumer devices, begin to malfunction. We are, as of this broadcast, at 7 to 9%, and rising at a rate of approximately 1% per hour.
12 and a half hours in. I want to talk about the people who are keeping things running tonight because they deserve to be named and because what they are doing is extraordinary. In the city of Chicago in the United States, the Emergency Management Department put a woman named Director Adaora at its head 18 months ago. She came from a disaster relief background, spent years working in post-flood communities in West Africa before returning to the States. Tonight, she has coordinated a citywide response that has, by most accounts, been a model of calm. She held a press conference 2 hours ago, one of the few local officials to do so. And what she said has been shared more than anything else from any official source tonight.
We don't know what tomorrow looks like. I'm not going to pretend we do. What I know is this. Every emergency generator in this city is fueled and running. Every hospital has been contacted. Every shelter is open. Every fire station is staffed at double capacity. We are a city of 3 million people. We have survived fire and flood and pandemic. We will face this night the same way we have faced every crisis in our history. Together, street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood, with our hands doing what our voices cannot. Please, stay inside if you can. Check on your neighbors, and know that the people in this city whose job it is to help you, they are not sleeping tonight. Not one of us.
Director Adaora of Chicago. Remember that name.
13 hours in. I need to update the casualty figures, and they have risen substantially. The global confirmed death toll stands at 219 people. The primary driver of that increase is the coastal flooding, which has worsened significantly in the last 2 hours. In Bangladesh, the Khulna region has seen water levels rise an additional 40 centimeters in the past 90 minutes. Evacuation is still underway, but many low-lying areas are now inaccessible by road, only by boat. 112 of the confirmed deaths are in South and Southeast Asia, specifically in low-lying coastal and river delta regions. The Mekong Delta in Vietnam, the Ganges-Brahmaputra Delta in Bangladesh, and the southern coast of Myanmar have all been severely impacted. In Europe, the Netherlands' sea barrier systems continue to hold in most areas, but a second breach has occurred, this one in the province of Zeeland, which flooded partially. 14 additional deaths have been confirmed there. In the Pacific, the nations of Kiribati and Tuvalu, which sit only a few meters above sea level at their highest points, are facing what their governments are calling an existential flooding event. Entire island chains are underwater. Evacuation ships sent by Australia and New Zealand are en route but have not yet arrived. The populations of those islands, measured in the tens of thousands, are on higher ground that is rapidly running out of height.
Maya Ross. Everyone who is still listening, because if you are still listening 14 hours in, you are either someone who cannot sleep, or someone who is afraid, or someone who has decided that knowing, even when knowing hurts, is better than not knowing. And I think you are right. I think you are right to want to know, and I think the most frightening thing in the situation is not the anomaly itself. It's the feeling of helplessness in the face of something you did not choose, could not prevent, and cannot control. I know that feeling. It's in this room right now. Daniel and I have been sitting here for 14 hours. We haven't eaten a proper meal. We haven't called our families. No, that's not true. I called mine in hour 3. I told them I loved them. I think everyone listening should do the same, whatever communications they still have available. Tell the people you love that you love them. Tonight is a night for that.
14 and a half hours. I want to tell you something I've been holding back for about an hour, waiting for confirmation. and we now have enough corroboration to report it. A joint statement is being prepared, we are told, by the heads of government of the 5 largest spacefaring nations. That statement is expected within the next 3 to 4 hours. We do not know its content. What we know, from a source inside one of those government science ministries, who is clearly taking an enormous risk in telling us this, is that the statement will include a disclosure of full known parameters. That phrase, full known parameters, suggests to me that there are known parameters that have not yet been disclosed. What those are, I cannot tell you tonight, but I want you to be prepared. Whatever that statement says, I want you to hear it with your full rational mind engaged, your community around you, and your fear acknowledged but not in control.
15 hours in. We've been covering the destruction and the fear and the systemic failures all night, which is our job, and we will keep doing it. But I want to spend a few minutes on something extraordinary that is happening on the night side of the planet. The hemisphere facing away from the anomaly, where the magnetic distortion is lower, and where the skies have done something nobody expected. Because of the magnetospheric deformation, the aurora borealis, the northern lights, has extended to latitudes where it has never in recorded history been visible. The aurora is appearing over Rome, Italy, over Athens, Greece, over Cairo, Egypt, over the northern edge of the Sahara Desert, over the ocean south of the Japanese island of Kyushu. People who have never seen the aurora in their lives, who live in cities where the sky is always an orange haze, are stepping outside tonight to see the sky moving with green and violet light. Our correspondent in Rome sent us a voice message that I want to play. I'll read what she said instead, since we can't play audio.
I'm standing in the middle of the Piazza Navona. Every fountain is still. Everyone here, hundreds of people, is looking straight up. The aurora is green and white, and it's moving like something alive. People are crying, not from fear, from the beauty of it. The city is dark because the power is out, which means there is no light pollution for the first time in anyone's memory, and the sky is the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what tomorrow brings, but tonight Rome looks like it was designed to be looked at from below, while the universe puts on a show above it. I wanted you to know that.
Beauty and terror sharing the same sky. That has always been the nature of this universe. Tonight we are just reminded of it more sharply.
16 hours into this event. The death toll stands at 407 confirmed worldwide. The trajectory of that number has been accelerating, primarily due to 3 factors. First, the continued coastal flooding. The tidal distortion is not diminishing. The anomaly has not moved, which means the additional tidal pull has not diminished, and the water that has risen along the coasts of Asia and the Pacific has continued to rise. Second, medical system failures. As hospitals operating on backup power begin to exhaust their fuel reserves designed for hours, not days, patients in critical care are being affected. Emergency fuel convoys have been dispatched in every affected country, but the loss of GPS and communications infrastructure means many of those convoys are delayed. Third, panic. I don't say this to diminish the people who are frightened. Panic is a rational response to an irrational situation. But in cities across the world, crowd events, traffic accidents caused by people fleeing without destination, and violence, we have to say it, there is violence in some places, have begun to add to the casualty figures. In Johannesburg, South Africa, 3 neighborhoods have seen looting. Police are overwhelmed. In parts of Los Angeles in the United States, a combination of power outages and fear has produced street-level conflict that emergency services are struggling to contain. These are not the majority of what is happening. The majority of what is happening is people helping each other. but the edges are fraying.
16 and a half hours. A listener named Kwame, writing from Accra, Ghana, sent us this message about an hour ago, and I've been saving it.
My grandmother lived through a famine, a coup, and a flood that took her first home. She is 92 years old. Tonight she sat in our living room with no power, no phone signal, just a candle, and the radio I keep for emergencies. Your signal reaches us here faintly, but it reaches us. She listened to your broadcast for a while, and then she said, "People always think the world is ending. The world never ends. People end sometimes. The world keeps going." Then she asked me to make her some porridge. I made her porridge. I wanted you to know that there is a 92-year-old woman in Ghana eating porridge tonight, and she is not afraid.
Kwame's grandmother is right, and she has earned her porridge.
17 hours in. We have received the joint government statement earlier than expected. It was released approximately 8 minutes ago simultaneously by the governments of all 5 signatory nations. It is long. I am going to read the sections that contain new information, and I want Maya and I to take our time with it. I'll read it. Here's the critical section.
After extensive analysis by international scientific teams over the past 17 hours, the following has been determined with high confidence. The gravitational anomaly detected at approximately 238,000 miles from Earth is stable and is not approaching Earth. Its mass is calculated to be approximately 8 solar masses within the range of a stellar mass black hole. The cause of its appearance remains unknown and is under investigation. The anomaly is expected to remain at or near its current position for a period of between 14 and 48 hours before beginning a process of decay consistent with theoretical Hawking radiation at this mass scale. In simpler terms, it will, based on our best current models, disappear. It will dissolve slowly over a period of hours in the same way and for the same reasons. Quantum mechanical radiation that any small black hole is theorized to eventually disappear. The magnetospheric interaction is expected to peak within the next 4 to 6 hours and then diminish as the object begins its decay. The tidal distortion of Earth's oceans will diminish correspondingly. We do not know where this object came from. We cannot explain its origin. We are telling you everything we know.
We are telling you everything we know. I want to believe that. I want to believe it very much. And the 14 to 48 hour decay window, the confirmation that this object will, on current models, disappear, that is the most significant piece of information we have received in 17 hours of broadcasting.
17 and a half hours in. And I have to be honest with you. Reading that statement felt like someone finally turned a light on in a dark room. Not because the danger is over. Look at the numbers. We're at over 400 dead. We're in the middle of an ongoing flooding emergency. We have power out for hundreds of millions of people. None of that is resolved. But when Daniel read those words, "It will disappear. We are telling you everything we know," I heard something shift in the studio. I heard people exhale. And I think that exhale is happening in kitchens and in churches and in shelters and on rooftops all over the world right now. That the thing might end. That the thing might end is enough to breathe for right now.
18 hours in. The magnetospheric distortion has, according to the Buenos Aires monitoring researcher we mentioned earlier, peaked at 11.3%, below the 14% threshold at which widespread surface-level electronics failure would begin. That is either good luck or good fortune, depending on your philosophy. The tidal distortion readings from the ocean buoys show the rate of increase has slowed measurably in the last 45 minutes. Not reversed. The tide is still elevated, but it is no longer rising as fast. This is consistent with the government statement's prediction. The anomaly appears, on current models, to have reached the apex of its gravitational interaction and to be entering the early stages of its decay. What this means in practice, the power outages will persist for many hours yet, because restarting grid infrastructure after magnetic interference is not an instantaneous process. The flooding will not recede quickly. Tides do not drop suddenly. The deaths we have had will not be undone, but the direction of the curve has changed. We are, for the first time in 18 hours, looking at a situation that is worsening more slowly and beginning to stabilize in key metrics.
18 and a half hours in. I want to read 2 more listener messages, the last 2 I'll read tonight, because I think they bookend something important. The first is from a woman named Ingrid, writing from the city of Tromsø in northern Norway, where so much of this began early this morning.
I have watched the aurora my whole life. Tonight it was bigger than anything I have ever seen. It covered the whole sky. Not just the north, the whole sky. My children, who are 7 and 9, woke up to look at it. My daughter said it looked like the sky was breathing. I told her that was exactly right. I don't know what to tell them about what has happened tonight. I think I'll tell them that the universe reminded us it is very large, and that we are very small, and that small things can still hold on.
And this one is the one I'll carry with me, from a man who signed only his initials, R.A., writing from Kiribati, one of the Pacific island nations that has been flooded tonight. One of the countries that may, when the water finally recedes, find very little left of what was there before.
I am on a boat. We left our island 4 hours ago. Almost everyone got out. Almost everyone. I'm looking back at the place where my house was. The water is above the roof now. My wife is asleep on the seat beside me. My son is awake, watching the sky. The sky tonight is the most extraordinary thing I've ever seen. The aurora, green and white and violet and something I don't have a name for, is in the sky above the place where my home used to be. I wanted to be angry. I'm trying to be angry. But the sky is so beautiful that I keep forgetting to be. We'll build something again. Somewhere. We always do.
R.A., wherever that boat takes you, we are thinking of you.
20 hours in, and the situation is doing what we hoped it would, which is stabilizing. Slowly, unevenly, imperfectly, but stabilizing. The anomaly, according to updated readings from the 3 observatories that have remained operational throughout this event, is showing what the Buenos Aires researcher is calling the first signatures of Hawking radiation decay. To be plain about what that means, the object is beginning to lose mass through the quantum process that, over time, causes small black holes to evaporate. This is not instantaneous. The latest models suggest the decay will accelerate over the next 12 to 20 hours, with the object becoming gravitationally negligible, too small to affect Earth's systems, within approximately 16 hours from now. Negligible, and then gone. The tidal readings are decreasing. The rate of magnetospheric distortion has reversed slightly. We are at 10.8%, down from 11.3. 2 substations in Toronto have come back online. Japan has begun a phased restart of its rail network in the regions where GPS has stabilized. In the Netherlands, sandbag reinforcement crews are working through the night in Zeeland, and preliminary reports say the second breach has been partially controlled.
21 hours in. The world is beginning to breathe again, unevenly, painfully, with enormous grief still in front of it, but breathing. I want to tell you what the death toll is right now, because I think the numbers deserve to be said plainly and completely, and because I think the people who are gone deserve to be counted in full, not minimized, not abstracted into a percentage or a statistic. As of this broadcast, the confirmed global death toll stands at 611 people. 611 human beings who were alive when this broadcast began and are not alive now. The majority, 347 of them, died in the coastal flooding that struck South and Southeast Asia and the Pacific Island nations. 41 died in the Netherlands. 63 died in medical emergencies related to power failures at hospitals and care facilities across 15 countries. 78 died in the crowd events, accidents, and other ground-level chaos that occurred across cities in every continent. The remaining 82 are distributed across incidents we have not yet fully categorized. The downed aircraft in Indonesia, the incidents in Istanbul, Sao Paulo, Manila, and others. 611 people. We say their number. We cannot yet say all of their names, but they will be said.
22 hours in, the anomaly's decay is proceeding faster than the 16-hour projection. Updated models now suggest full gravitational insignificance within 9 to 11 hours from this moment, meaning the event, in terms of the active space-based threat, may be resolved within what we might call a single sleep's time. The scientific community, which went so completely silent in the first hours of this event, is now beginning to speak again, cautiously, carefully, but speaking. The consensus appears to be what the government statement described, an object of unknown origin that appeared, that disrupted, and that will dissolve. The question of why, of where it came from, of what caused it, of whether it can happen again. Those questions will be asked for years, perhaps for decades. They will be the subject of careers and papers and arguments, and perhaps discoveries that change our understanding of the universe. But they will not be answered tonight. Tonight is not a night for answers. Tonight is a night for counting the living and honoring the dead.
23 hours in, almost there. And as we come up on a full day in this chair, I want to say something about what I have observed in the human species tonight, because I think it matters, not for the broadcast, but for the record. I have seen people do terrible things tonight. I won't pretend otherwise. There was looting, there was violence, there was panic that injured and killed people who might otherwise have been safe. I won't erase that. But what I will say, and I say this as someone who has been watching and listening for 23 hours, is that the terror was the exception, and the tenderness was the rule. The woman in Mumbai who made tea for her neighbor, Father Emmanuel's congregation laughing at the sky, Director Adaura of Chicago who did not sleep, Salma, the school teacher, walking children to safety singing, the boat owners of Khulna who became ferry captains without being asked, the amateur radio operators in Accra who kept the signal alive, the man from Kiribati on a boat watching his home disappear underwater saying we'll build something again. Everywhere I looked tonight, everywhere the signal reached, there were people who chose each other. I needed you to know that before we closed, the choosing of each other. That happened at scale tonight. That is what the record should say.
24 hours. One full day since the Farpoint Array's automated systems flagged the anomaly and sent an alert to 7 observatories around the world, beginning the longest 24 hours most people on this planet will ever live through. Here is where things stand as we complete this broadcast. The anomaly is continuing its decay and is expected to be fully dissolved within the next 7 to 9 hours. The tidal distortion is receding. Sea levels along the most affected coastlines are dropping at a rate of approximately 4 centimeters per hour. The magnetospheric distortion is at 6.1% and falling. Power is being restored in stages across North America and Europe. Asia's infrastructure recovery is slower, but underway. The Pacific Island nations face an enormous reconstruction challenge. Some of what was there before will not be recoverable, and those communities will need the sustained attention of the world in the months and years ahead, not just tonight. The confirmed global death toll at the 24-hour mark stands at 653 people. That number will likely rise modestly in the coming hours as remote areas report in and medical situations resolve. The world's scientific community faces, now, the most significant unanswered question in the history of human inquiry. Where did it come from, and why? That question has no answer tonight. It may not have an answer for a generation, but it will be asked, loudly, persistently, and with the full force of every discipline of human understanding, because that is what we do. We look at what we cannot explain, and we don't stop looking.
24 hours. We made it through the night. 653 people did not, and their absence is a grief that belongs to the whole world. But more than 8 billion people watched the sky do something impossible, held each other in the dark, made each other tea, sang to each other's children, opened doors, lit burners, rowed boats, walked lines of small, frightened children towards safety, and managed, against all rational odds, to remain, in the main, human. To remain what we have always been at our best, which is a species that reaches for each other when it reaches for anything. I don't know what tomorrow looks like. I don't know if we ever get an answer to where that thing came from. I don't know what the people of Kiribati will rebuild, or what the families in the Mekong Delta will find when the water recedes. I don't know what question the universe was asking us last night. But I know that whatever the answer was supposed to be, we gave it in the dark, with candles and shortwave radios and porridge and hands held across kitchen tables. I think that might be enough. I think it might have to be.
This has been a live emergency broadcast from Blackout Radio. I am Daniel Voss. My partner tonight, for 24 hours, has been Maya Ross. The anomaly will dissolve. The water will recede. The lights will come back on. What has been lost cannot be recovered. But what has held, in the face of something the universe threw at us without warning or explanation, is extraordinary. 653 people are gone. 8 billion remain. The sky above them is dark and full of stars, and for the first time in human history, we know with absolute certainty that it can surprise us in ways we did not think possible. We will be back on air with continuing coverage. Stay with Blackout Radio. Stay with each other. That's all. Good morning.
Good morning.